Hello everyone, I'm Reginald Bridges of Minden, Louisiana, and welcome to this year's Martin Luther King Jr. celebration. Here we are into another year and things are still not the way that we had hoped. But as Dr. King said, we must not stop, we must keep moving. This year's theme for the Minden area is the Dream 2022, Stop the Violence, Save Our Youth, and save our community. As we all know, we've had some challenging and trying times in the Minden area within this past year. But we must save our community, people. Everything starts at home. We have to take back our community. If we don't try to save our own community, then who will? Now you'll have a chance to listen to some of the city leaders and citizens of the Minden area tell you what this year's theme means to them. Take a listen.
Hello, my name is Dr. Grady Smith, and I am proud to be here today to speak with you on the Dream 22. Most of us are familiar with Dr. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, which was delivered in Washington, D.C. on August 28, 1963. In the 17-minute, 1,667-word speech, Dr. King argues that African Americans have gone through an abundance of discrimination and that it is time for that injustice to end. In his speech, he was speaking to the racial tension and bigotry of the 1960s. He also speaks on the freedom for minorities, peaceful protests, and hope for the future. Well, it is now 2022, almost 60 years later, and we still face racial strains and discriminatory practices from many different angles and sources. However, I believe the major downturn in our society is within our own ranks. Black on black crime, namely violent crimes and murders, are at all-time high. In fact, according to KSLA News 12, from an article in December 2021, analyzing demographic information known about each homicide victim killed between October 1st, 2019 and September 30th, 2021, reveals a troubling trend. Young black men under the age of 30 are dying at an alarming high rate. In fact, they account for 53% of all homicide victims. If Dr. King had to give a speech today, I believe that a key point in his message would be on the state of black on black crime. We have to call for a movement to stop the violence in our own communities among our own children. We cannot expect others to respect life if we don't. One of his themes throughout his career in social justice was nonviolence. The spirit of the civil rights movement in the 1960s was only successful because we came together as a people and demanded things to change. I have seen the impact of violence up close and personal. Since January 1st, 2020, at the school that I lead in Shreveport, we have lost 20 students just from our campus due to some type of violence. The hurt, pain, and grief not only affect the family, but also friends, teachers, and loved ones for years to come. This haunts my school every day. The way we are losing our young people is not normal. We are normalizing circumstances that are not normal. Famous rapper Young Dolph was murdered in Memphis, Tennessee buying cookies months ago. Come to find out, his alleged assailant was one of his friends, somebody he invested into. Our theme of Stop the Violence, Save the Youth, and Save Our Community points the finger of indictment not on others, but back to what we can do to fix our own plight. Dr. King's dream is still alive and well, for as a people, we have come for a mighty long way. We have our first black president and vice president. I believe that our future and the future of the dream has less to do with what others can do for us and more to do what we can do for ourselves. Let's break down the theme. First, stop the violence. How do we do that? Well, we learn to communicate, and instead of picking up a weapon or a gun, we talk about our problems. We don't need just more policing, we need better policing. Also, get rid of the no snitching mindset. If you see something, say something. Learn to respect the lives of others and also promote mental health because hurt people hurt people. Next is save our youth. How do we do that? Well, we recommit funding to target youth and youth programs. We promote mentoring, promote the family structure. Also, we do not give up on our youth after one mistake. The older generation has a responsibility to tell the youth of their mistakes so they won't follow in their footsteps. And lastly, education that focuses on the need of the student and the community. save our community. Lastly, we reestablish community centers. We continue to build economic viability within the neighborhood, and we rebuild homes, build generational wealth for our children. We always say it takes a village to raise a child. However, we must allow the village to do its job. We also like to say that we have faith and pray, but faith without works is dead. My favorite group, Maze, featuring Frankie Beverly, has a song called We Are One, which talks about the love of the black community and coming together as a unit. The song begins and says, I can't understand why we treat each other in this way, taking up time with the silly games we play. We've got our love, and no matter how it's said or done, we are one. No matter what we do, we are one. Remember, we are one community who must come together to save our own selves and our own community. And that is the dream that I'm sure Dr. King will be proud of in 2022. Thank you.
So when I reflect on this year's theme for the Martin Luther King celebration, I feel that the best way that we can save our community would be to invest in our youth. I feel that the ways we can help would be education, goal setting, and mentoring. It's so crucial that our students of today gain an education, because an education is a pathway to success. It's also crucial that we help our students gain positive interest in things that are on the right pathway. And so as an educator, my daily purpose is to do all I can to motivate and mentor the students that I'm interacting with. This also includes helping students develop and maintain solid academic pathways. So also my work, it doesn't stop when the school bell rings. I'm always looking for ways to motivate and to connect with students outside of school. This work includes investing time in building after-school programs and summer programs that focus not only on the academic success of mathematics and reading skills. I also am working to try to help students develop career goals. Because in order for students to grow up to be positive citizens and productive members of society, it's very crucial that early on they gain a goal. And it's necessary also for people to be there, adults, to stand behind them and help them stay on the right pathway towards their goals. So if I think back to leaders, such as my late grandfather, James Henry Smith, I think about all of the time that he invested in people and helping them develop a career and develop an education. So my everyday work is to somewhat walk in the footsteps of those great giants of our history and our past generations. If we think back to our 1980s, they were faced with similar problems with the war on crime, a war on drugs, and a war with gun violence. But it was not until the members of society stepped up and stood out that we saw the change that we needed to see in our communities. So I want to encourage everyone, whether young and old, to take the time to invest and mentor kids that are around them, whether it be students in our families, children in our neighborhoods, churches, or workplace. We can be the change we want to see if we help. And so I want to encourage everybody to never forget about that old African proverb that states, it takes a village to raise a child. And so now it's time for us to rebuild the village.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bobby Strohmeyer. I'm an attorney of 47 years, born and raised in Plaindeal, Louisiana. Presently, I'm a private practice, work for the Caddo Parish Juvenile Court as a hearing officer, the Public Defender's Office, representing children and parents and minor children in delinquency matters in Caddo Parish, Louisiana. And as it relates to your Martin Luther King Day program, this video is to give you a little insight on how I perceive things as it relates to the holiday. I feel that I am a direct product of the things that Dr. King stood for: equality, the ability to rise up in your field, to help others. Without those things he advocated, we probably would not have the doors open to bring me in the position that I am in. as it relates to your theme, that's to stop the violence, save the children, and save our community. In my work as a public defender in Webster Parish, I come in contact with most of the minors who come through the system as delinquencies. I counsel them. I not only represent them, but I talk to them the importance of getting education, the importance of staying out of trouble, and also the importance of giving back to your community. I tell them that nothing is given for us. Everything is hard. And that's, unless we produce for ourselves and have the idea that we can be productive, then we won't be. So we have to, as a community, we have to hold our kids to a higher standard. We have to teach them that nothing is free. They have to work to get it. We have to teach them that being violent is not the answer. It only causes you problems. I tell my clients, when I say my clients, my young people come through, even though you may not be here for certain crimes, that if you do certain things as a juvenile, it can hurt you when you become an adult. So you have to be mindful of things that you do. If you want to be productive in the community, you first have to get an education, because you can't do anything without that. Then you have to go back and you have to work your way up the ladder so you can, in fact, achieve those goals you want to be. All my clients tell me they want to be athletes. They want to be the next basketball player, the next football player, and I tell them, say, I understand that you have some great athletes from Minden, Webster Parish. I reference a young man, Ladarius Sneed. I tell them, everyone's not going to be that. Very few of them make that goal, but he made it. It's good for him, but you have to have an alternative. You have to have something to fall back on, and that's where we deal with education. I remind their parents that even though our kids have dreams, you have to push them towards some other things, specifically to get an education, stay out of trouble, stay away from gangs, and be helpful in your community. Lend a hand. Do things for people that need things to be done. If we build up our community and we have the self-esteem in our community, then we can be successful. We can promote the goals and continue the goals and that Dr. King set for us, equality, enjoying the life of, like everybody said, he come to America to live the American dream. We live in America and we have to fight for our dreams. That's what he fought for. That's what I remind our students, our kids, that we have to do that. As a community, that's what we have to do, and that's what we have to remind our kids for. It's not just he had a birthday and he died. It's what he died for, and we must promote that in order to be successful in the future.
Hey everybody, my name is Roman Holiday, and I'm a graduating senior at Southern University in Agricultural and Mechanical College. Thank you to the Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration Committee for requesting my participation in this event. The theme of this year's celebration is the Dream 2022. Stop the violence, save our youth, and save our community. I believe the solution to ending violence is understanding what violence is and what it causes. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Violence is immoral because it thrives on hatred rather than love. It destroys communities and makes brotherhood impossible." I believe we can stop violence by understanding that we are all one human body, aspiring to one common goal. I also think violence can be stopped through the education system by providing outlets for young people to be educated on different communication techniques. We as a community should uplift each other by motivating, listening, and most of all, loving.
Let's see what this help side looking like. Then we go get where we want to go. I see Coach there, I might jam, boom, get there quick. Our community was built up on love. We're a small community. Minden is a very small community. My grandma know his grandma, And that's the LTT baby right there. So our community built all the way up on love. And but recently, our community it's a lot of hatred been going around. A lot of killing and shooting, children dying, stabbings at the school. So it's been a different type of thing going on in the community, and it's been really troubling me in my soul about what's been going on. So I know me personally, I have to get back in my community and do what it is I need to do for the kids and the youth, because I know they need us, and they need me. So I just want us to get back to that love and that family or in the community that we are in Minden, man, we got over 50 plates. and over about 50, 60 jackets, man. Come get it. Come get it. We're going to be up here. So the environment lately is not as it once was and not as it should be, but the environment of this world as a whole has changed. So our community just adapted to it. But, you know, we want to adapt back to what we came up on, the core of who we are, which is family, which is love, which I can walk into your granny house, get some food, or you can walk into my granny house, or we can be corrected by our neighbors, how it used to be. We try to get back to that village living.
When I ponder about this year's MLK theme, this theme resonates with my personal life experience, plan, and vision. It makes me think of a particular quote of Dr. King, and I quote, "If you subscribed to the temptation of using violence in the struggle, unborn generations will be recipients of a long and desolate night of bitterness, and your legacy to the future will be an endless reign of meaningless chaos." End quote. A legacy is something that is carried on from one generation to the next. It is imperative that the current generation of community leaders, which include me and you, reach out to those in our community who seem to lack guidance or simply lost their way. You see, we are living in a time where the age of mothers and grandmothers are getting younger, and they cannot pass along hope to their children. Why? Because they lack hope themselves. We must reach and teach at least one. A lot of times we neglect to do our part as leaders because we feel we cannot make a difference. However, I feel that if I or we can just reach one family, it would make a difference. You see, when our community experienced the death of a small child as a result of gun violence, and the family of that deceased child sees it appropriate to post pictures of the child the next day on a social media platform holding a toy gun. Yes, Minden, we have work to do. Well, my plan is to start where I am, and I'd urge everyone today to start where you are, on your job and in your community, petitioning those you come in contact with to reverence themselves and those around them. We must make it a habit of sharing with the residents of our community what things are appropriate. We must make it a habit of sharing what things are just inappropriate and unacceptable. Now, when I say residents, I mean the young as well as the adults and other leaders. We must lead by example. We must start teaching and expecting the best of our children in all settings, not just our own children, but the children we encounter in our community. We also must recognize when the parents of those children need our help, and we must offer our help spiritually, we must offer our help financially, and we must offer our help emotionally. You know, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a village to stop violence. In my closing, let's all start to make a difference right where we are. Don't be concerned about teaching the mass of people. Just reach those that are in your reach. This is how, Minden, we will begin to stop the violence. This is how, Minden, we will begin to save our youth. This is how we will save our community. I would like to end with another one of Dr. King's quotes. This particular quote is my challenge to myself and to all of you. And I quote, "Use me, God, Show me how to make who I am, who I want to be, and what I can do, and use me for a purpose greater than me. End quote.
Hi, my name is Lieutenant Taka Harrison, and today I will share my thoughts on the 2022's theme, Stop the Violence, Save Our Youth, and Save Our Community. As a school resource officer for 12 years, a police officer for 15 years, a mother, and a product of the lower income community in this city, the Dream 2022 Stop the Violence, Save Our Youth, Save Our Community resonates in me. There are so many avenues that need to be taken to accomplish this dream. First, it's going to take more than just talking about it. We must be about it. Secondly, a plan of action with revisions along the way that addresses the issues of our community. There will be trial and error along the way, but with open minds and working together, it can be accomplished. Finally, we must focus on our youth. One of my personal plans for this year is to volunteer with the youth in my community. We must spend time molding our youth to one day become productive citizens of society. We must instill that nugget in them early. Some qualities of Martin Luther King Jr. I would like to instill in our babies are equality, faith, nonviolence, education, love, leadership, selflessness, and hope. With these qualities, they will have the knowledge and wisdom to handle life's conflicts with nonviolent choices and have success with integrity. As I close, I want to leave with you one of Martin Luther King Jr.'s quotes. Violence is impractical because it is a descending spiral ending in destruction for all. It is immoral because it seeks to humiliate the opponent rather than win his understanding. It seeks to annihilate rather than convert. Violence is immoral because it strives on hate rather than love. It destroys the community and makes brotherhood impossible. It leaves society in monologue rather than dialogue. Violence ends up defeating itself. Thank you, guys.
Greetings. I am Jordan Herring, an algebra teacher and interim band director at Minden High School. To the principal, assistant principal, guests, student body, and the community of Minden, the topic of today's program is one of great magnitude in today's society. A generational curse within our community. Young people in today's age have the opportunity to be whatever their heart desires, and we must teach them to resolve their conflicts with their mind and words rather than their guns and fists. From toddlers to young adults, we, the older generation, must instill the belief that they are worth more than they have seen and heard over the years. It is our duty, and we must lead by example. If we can plant the seed within their heart and mind to lead by example, only then will we be able to make a change in their outlook on themselves and their future. Thank you.
Hey, my name is Cameron Talley. This year MLK theme, Save Our Youth, Stop the Violence, Save Our Community. It's personal to me because it correlates with my future plan and goals to go to college, get an education, and create generational wealth for my kids and the youth of the future. Our youth are not exposed to more. They're not usually pushed to their intellectual potential. And we as a community need to value education more than sports and athletics. African American fourth graders across the classroom only have a reading proficiency level of 26%. Louisiana alone only has a graduation rate of 80.1%. Not only that, but as long as a state in the world, Louisiana had the highest incarceration rate, 75% of the prison population having to be African American. And it goes to show you there's a link between special education and incarceration. We as a community need to save our kids and instill good habits in them. Starts at home. We need to be held accountable. Too often our kids are told their wrongs and not offered resolutions. We need to give them more, create safe havens for them to express themselves creatively and constructively. Therefore, these are my plans and my thoughts on how we can do that. 1, have after-school STEM programs that promote engineering, math, and sciences. Give our youth ways to explore to explore more than just the environment they're in. Not only that, but emphasize reading more, not just at school, but on their own. Therefore, reading results to knowledge, and knowledge results to true liberation. And therefore, parents have a relationship with your children, hold them accountable, starts when they're young, instill good habits in them that will last a lifetime. So therefore, the children are not the problem, they're the solution. My name is Cameron Tyler. Thank you for your time.
Greetings. I'm Kevin Washington, pastor of the Greater New Bethel AME Church, Spring Hill, Louisiana. I'm thankful today to have reflections on the King holiday weekend. When called to think about the King holiday weekend, several things come to mind. The first thing is that this holiday weekend is an opportunity to serve. Dr. King would remind us our greatness comes by our service. So as we serve this weekend in various community service projects, we encourage you to get involved. The next thing I think about is that Dr. King represented in the civil rights movement. He becomes the voice and the face of the civil rights movement. And we celebrate not just Dr. King, but so many heroes and heroines, unnamed persons who made a difference, that we enjoy those things we enjoy today. As we think about your theme today, one of his greatest quotes said that we must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as foes. If we're to make a difference in our communities, we must learn to live together, regardless of our political affiliations, regardless of our religious doctrines and dogmas, regardless of our neighborhoods we live in. We must learn to live together. Finally, the Ghanaian Akan people have a word called Sankofa, which means to go back and fix, go back and get what is lost. And today we need to regain our spirit of excellence. We need to regain pride in our community. And finally, we need to gain the love for our brother and our sister. Thank you today. May God bless you. May God keep you, is our prayer.